Thank you. U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland made a stop in Wichita today. He met with local law enforcement officials here to discuss efforts to stop violent crimes and also drug trafficking. We were allowed to be there for a 5-minute opening statement where no questions were taken. During that statement, he says that the collaboration at the federal, state, and local level is working.
Now we have seen results. Here in Kansas, violent crime was down 3.7% last year, according to the Kansas Bureau of Investigation. And nationwide, we saw one of the lowest violent crime rates in 50 years and the largest drop in homicides in 50 years. And that progress appears to be continuing again in 2024.
Afterwards, Garland held a closed-door meeting with Wichita Police Chief Joe Sullivan and Sedgwick County Sheriff Jeff Easter.